wanted to go straight in on licensing as we're talking about it, because obviously licensing has been a massive part in what you do. Well, not only licensing but alignment. So you've done two things in my vision that's blew my mind with what you've achieved with Culture Kings. You've obviously got the licensing element, which is where you obviously associate your brand with someone else's and you put them together, but you've also done it with people as well, where you've done it with a lot of rappers and a lot of the culture. So, you know, part of Culture Kings' his whole DNA, I feel, has been collaboration. So walk me through the collaborations and licensing deals that you've kind of done and structured and how they came about.
Yeah, so licensing didn't come till a much later, and I wish I knew about it earlier, but I didn't really find out about it till maybe 5 years ago or something. But the first collaboration was just basically a lot of luck, in that we had the Superfest was in town, and one of the guys from the entourage of Snoop was there, and it was like, oh, and I was working, could we get Snoop to come in, working out a deal, and then sort of like, is this possible? And then I was like with Tani, oh, they're on the way to this barbecue, if they could stop by on the way and we could sort of, you know, a little bit of paper bag and a little bit of influence. And then next minute we had the whole Superfest crew through our little store in Southport. And this was, you know, the guys were amazing, but the problem is they had this enormous entourage. It's like there must have been 50 plus in the entourage. And they sort of just thought this was an opportunity to, everything's free, right? So they're taking the staff left and right. We're trying to be like, wait, like they're paying for this, but not this. And then it was a mess, and we lost so much product. But I remember thinking at the time, like, oh, what do we do? How do we get it? I remember Snoop said to me, don't worry, this will all be worth, I'll make this worthwhile for you. And he did a Twitter post or posted us on Twitter, and I've got this drop of him saying, he's good, you know, Snoop's got him, you know, I'll look after him. And then it was so good, we actually leveraged that in the marketing, and like, we had hardly any stock left because we'd lost so much, but it just went nuts. And then we had the record day in Brisbane, our store in Brisbane. And then from then, I was like, every tour that comes to town, how do we intercept the tour, and how do we become as part of the journey to the event? So I always thought of this. People don't need new clothes to sit at home on the weekend. We buy new clothes when we're going somewhere. Event-based retail, I sort of said. And I was like, well, if we could intercept when people are going to this festival and associate that festival with us, and it's like, well, the artist comes here and gets clothes and wears them at the festival. So of course they want to get clothes from here and wear them to the festival. And that's what we worked out how to do. And we did it with every sort of promoter as they're bringing in artists, and try and line them up before, to working direct with the artists. And I would always try and make it organic as possible. Like sometimes, you know, we'd pay them for meet and greets and stuff to get photos, but then they'd always shop organically. And that's the thing that I wanted, was the content of them just shopping organically was actually the most valuable, because it was so real and authentic. And especially when they wore the clothes, you know, later going to the airport or on stage. And this is one of the biggest things, is that I didn't realize what a gap we did. All these people are traveling basically their entire life. They do not do the washing. So they need a new outfit every day, sometimes 2 or 3 outfits a day. They need just the most insane volume of clothes. So we were actually the perfect sort of partner of like, well, here's a couple of grand worth of stuff. They didn't have to do any washing or do the thing, and we'd give them all the duffel bags and the suitcases with it. It was just, that's something early on that we really caught on to. And then as they would wear it after, you know, we could capture that content, shop in at Culture Kings, reuse it, and really make it that it was such an authentic relationship. And that's where I always thought, is that we could position those right collaborations. They were never forced. Like I always thought, when I used to see like billboards with George Clooney or something, and it's like, you know, tag Heuer, and he's like this. And I'm like, who's that convincing to buy? It's so inauthentic. It's so, like, it's that natural relation. And what you're seeing right now, why does lo-fi content work so good on TikTok, is because it is more authentic. It's more genuine. That's what you see every ad that's crushing now, as much as you can drop it down and authentically do it, because like we just tune out to too much of the smoke and mirrors and the big billboard that I always saw back, you know, in the early days. I think it's the authentic nature that they really wear the clothes. They really like the store. It's not like this stand here, take a photo, do this, pose here, and then they leave. You know, we never had that.
So where you've kind of differentiated everything is you've gone, look, we're seeing the markets telling us that the more authentic the content, the warmer it is for everybody, in terms of like the more leads we're going to get from people coming in genuinely, the better the artist is going to feel, the better our relationship with the artist is going to feel. So everyone from business to consumer and artist wins in that relationship. So what you actually created there was a win-win-win.
Yeah.
Which a lot of businesses, what you're saying is they're creating a win-loss. So your whole role as an entrepreneur is to create a win-win-win or a win-win in every situation. So how can more brands, more people out there building brand, go and create that win-win relationship? What are other ways to do that?
The big thing to create that alignment of win-win, and I love the way you put it, win-win-win, because you're right, everyone won out of that situation, is that you've got to create that we're on the same team and that it's not transactional. The thing is, I've always thought in business, if anything just worked once, it wasn't worth doing, because, and I'm prepared to lose money on anything the first time because it's all in the perpetual motion of it. So if someone ever came and it was always a one-off deal, I always thought it didn't make sense. But if there was a true that they felt value out of it and that we would keep doing it, that's where all the long tail success comes in business. And I think that's too where sometimes with negotiating, I might have been like, I can be the first one to give in on a negotiation or something, not that hard a negotiator, because I'm more like, well, let's just try it and see, because if we get the synergy and we get it to work, we'll be able to work it out long term. But I'm not trying to, I never try and think, how do I make money on the first deal? It's all about how do I create something that's going to perpetually keep going and growing. So that's something I would advise. And I suppose the best way to do this is, I saw Athletic Greens do this amazing company, you know, $1 billion valuation.
Built off the back of podcasting?
Yes, but the thing they did with podcasting, which was so clever, which I haven't seen anyone else do this, is that they aligned the influencer long term. So example, Andrew Huberman, when he says the code Huberman, they would pay him on the lifetime value of someone that used that code, because they're all set up for subscription. So he's still getting checks on people like me that signed up for Athletic Greens 5 fucking years ago. He's still getting the money today off that one coupon code. So he doesn't get paid like for doing that. He gets paid on a purely a commission lifetime value of the customer. So it's such a long-term alignment. So that's where he's so congruent and he says it and it feels so authentic with his relationship of how he does it, and you get such a long tail of it. So I think how you can really align with influencers over lifetime value, and that you're not paying them up front. Like it has to be commission. They have to have skin in the game. That's the key, is when they're getting paid to post this no matter what, like we've all seen it, they can do the most half-assed fucking next, like hold it, like it's not worth anything. It has to be congruent and authentic. And if you can't negotiate that, just find someone that will. And that's what you should, because as well, on the influencer side, I'm always trying to coach them of like, could you imagine if LeBron James did 1 week, oh, here's my new Nike, the next day, no, here's New Balance, the next day, here's Adidas. He would lose all of his authority, would be gone instantly. And this is what so many influencers do, is they chop and change and jump around. You just kill your effectiveness with your audience, is find the right brands that align with and then get aligned on lifetime value. And this is what we're seeing the best deals ever, like the Messi Miami deal, like equity, the Conor McGregor Proper 12. This is why, you know, Skims, Kim Kardashian, this is why those big influencers, when the right equity deals, they'll be billions and billions. Every big influencer will be a billionaire, I believe, because they will be able to leverage that right deal to do those. And you've just seen it with the top of the top, but that's going to keep dropping down because they are so important in driving it. That's what I sort of see. But they have to remember their brand is so important. They can't dilute their brand by chopping and changing, by doing things that they lose credibility in the market for.
There's one thing that I've always done is I've never ran an ad on this podcast since its inception. I've done nearly 170 episodes, you know, and we're doing phenomenal numbers now. And the reason for that, Simon, is because like I don't want to be associated with XYZ brand for all this kind of rubbish, you know, something that I don't believe in. I was told through business before I started the podcast, it's like the longer you can delay the money, the better it's going to be for everybody, for the audience, for you, because everything aligns more authentically. And even though that is sometimes gets to the position where it can be painful because you're constantly like, you're paying out, you're creating content, you're putting value into the marketplace, but it's all about putting more deposits in than you're trying to receive. And I think over a period of time, if you can deposit more and deposit more and deposit more and deposit more, eventually you create what they term as an avalanche that comes back your way. And I think that's kind of what I see Culture Kings have done, haven't they? They've kind of made so many deposits along the way that it was inevitable that you were going to get a snowball that rolled down the hill at one point. You just had to wait long enough.
And stacking, so not only the brand part, but also the money, right? Because as well, we were putting all the money back into the business. We were turning over $50 million and Tani and I were paying ourselves $150,000 each. No dividend, right? We were like, we built a $50 million business, self-funded. Like, no, 150, because we're rolling the whole lot each time. And that was the thing, is that when people were so shocked, like, what the fuck, Culture King, 600 million, how can that be? But it's because it was just stacked in there. And it was that compounding machine, exactly like you're talking, you're building on your brand. We're building on the brand, but building it financially by pouring all that money in. You see it, Mr. Beast is like the most brilliant example of it, of how much he just pours back into each video, which makes him unstoppable. Like when he tried to raise that thing at like $1 billion, I was trying I would invest in it. Like that is the biggest screaming bargain, because his brand equity that he's built is just, you can't even measure it. It's so freaking powerful.